You're emailing your list every week. You're showing up. You're being consistent. You're doing what everyone told you to do. And the silence on the other end is starting to feel personal. Nobody's clicking. Nobody's buying. And every time you hit send, you're half hoping this is the one that finally gets a response. And half wondering if anyone is even out there. So you start Googling, should I clean my list? Should I grow my list? Should I email more? Should I email less? Are my subject lines wrong? Is my niche wrong? Am I wrong? And everyone has an answer. Clean the disengaged subscribers. Fix your open rates. Post more content. Grow faster. The money is in the list. Just keep going. You follow the advice and nothing changes. If this sounds like you and your email list, then pull up a chair because I have some thoughts to share with you today. When most people talk about email lists, they usually go in one of two directions. Either, how do I grow my list? Or, how do I clean my list? And both of those can matter. But they're very often the wrong first question. Because the question that I hear all the time is, how do I grow my list faster? Or, why are my open rates dropping? Or this one, how often should I email so I don't annoy them? Maybe, should I remove the people who aren't opening? Or, why is my list not buying anymore? And listen, these are not silly questions. They're great questions. And I have asked every single one of them myself. But most of them are symptom questions. They're not root cause questions. The better question is, what is my list actually for right now? That is the question hardly anyone asks. Because if you do not know what your list is meant to do right now, or in the next 6 weeks, or in the next 90 days, then all the advice about cleaning it, growing it, emailing it more often, emailing it less often, changing your subject lines, re-engaging people, segmenting people, tagging people, that's not strategy. That becomes admin with lipstick, procrastibusyness. And this matters because your email list is still one of the only audiences you really own. Instagram can decide not to show your content. TikTok can decide to become a flaming bin. Algorithms change, reach can vanish, but your email list, that's yours. So if that asset is just sitting there, not pulling its weight, then we need to talk about why. And let me start by sharing with you how I accidentally hacked off half of my own leg. Feels like that. If you've been around for a while, you may remember my dramatic little breakup with Active Campaign. I was quite vocal about it and I wanted them to hear me complain. And by little breakup, I mean expensive breakup. I had been with Active Campaign for 7 years. And then I got the email. My annual fee was going from about $3,000 a year to $5,000 a year. Not because I was suddenly getting much more value, not because I had asked for some glorious new thing, but because they kept adding AI features that I didn't want, that I didn't need, and that I was absolutely not using. And when I pushed back, the answer was basically no. And so I left. I moved to Kit, which I genuinely love. But before I was going to migrate my entire list to a new platform, I thought, let me be a responsible adult online course creator, online business marketer. Let me clean the list first. Let me do the smart marketing thing and clean this list up. Now, according to Active Campaign, about half of my list was inactive, hadn't opened an email in 90 days. So I did the standard best practice thing. I ran a re-engagement campaign, which was really great if I say so myself, a bunch of really well-written, funny emails, and every email gave people the chance to say, yes, I still want to be here. I am opening your emails. The CRM has it wrong. And some people responded. They said, no, I do open your emails. I open them every week. But some didn't. And then I did the unthinkable. I unsubscribed all the rest who didn't reply. I cut my list in half, which at the time felt very grown up and strategic and like, yeah, this is what we do when we want quality over quantity. But it wasn't. It was traumatic. And then that same week, my podcast downloads dropped by almost half too. And that was my crap moment. Because what I realized the hard way is this: your email platform, your CRM, doesn't fully know who is reading your emails and who's not. Not properly, not cleanly, not enough for you to go making dramatic decisions with a machete. Tracking right now is messy. Open data is messy. Click data only tells part of the story. And in my case, I had people telling me later that they loved my emails and they read them every week and they looked forward to them. And I had unsubscribed them for being, in inverted commas, inactive. Wonderful. Excellent work, Salome. And here's the other thing I learned. A lot of people do not click directly from your email to something like your podcast, or even to your sales page, or to whatever you're promoting in your email. They read the email and they think, oh yeah, I want to check that out. And then later, while they're driving or walking or folding the laundry, they open up the podcast app, they put your name into it, or they go to your website, or they go to your Instagram account, and they find the page that you emailed them another way. Your software can't always see that path, but the email still did its job. And that was a massive lesson for me because the data looked like people weren't engaged. But real life told a different story. And that means cleaning your list too aggressively based on incomplete data, it can be a terrible idea. Possibly list suicide. Maybe a bit dramatic, possibly, but also true. Yes. So first, let me hopefully calm your nervous system for a second. If your open rates are around 30%, that can be completely healthy. If your click rates are 1 to 2%, that can also be completely healthy. And I know those numbers can feel really low. I know your brain wants to panic and say, well, clearly everyone hates me. But often, those are the normal numbers. So please don't look at a decent performing list and decide it needs to go in the rubbish bin just because the dashboard didn't shower you with compliments. Now, there's one more thing that matters a lot here. And this is asking yourself, where did the leads on this list come from? Because not all lists are built the same. If most of your list came from organic traffic, your podcast, your Instagram, your YouTube, your audience is usually warmer. They found you. They chose you. They know your voice. They have some existing trust. But if most of your list came from paid ads to a lead magnet or to an evergreen webinar, that list can often be much colder. Not worse, just colder. Those people may have opted in for one specific thing. They may not remember your name 3 emails later. They may need more nurturing before they care, before they click, or before they buy. So if you compare a cold ads built list to a warm organic list, and you expect them to behave in the same way, you're going to think something's wrong, when really, you're just comparing apples to hair straighteners. Same internet, different buying temperature. Which brings me to the lovely Beth. A few weeks ago, I got an email from a listener called Beth Goodrum, and it genuinely stopped me in my tracks. Before I read it to you, let me tell you a bit about Beth, because when I got this email, I went straight to her website and I fell a little bit in love with her. Beth's been blogging since 2009. She was shortlisted for the Marie Claire Fashion Blogger of the Year award. She trained as a solicitor and then completely pivoted to personal stylist, influencer, TV presenter, author, podcaster, and coach. And she wrote a book called, listen to this, I love this, You Are Not Bonkers, a guided journal for women going through menopause. I love that because we think we're bonkers, right? She sends her subscribers a Sunday love letter every week that she describes as a cuddle in a letter. I mean, come on. Beth's whole world is about midlife women. helping them feel good, look their best, and navigate menopause and find their style. And she's been showing up for this audience consistently and generously for over 15 years. Beth has built something that most people would look at and think, well, she's sorted. She knows her audience deeply. She has a lot of trust with her audience. She has engagement. She has traction. And recently, her lead magnet absolutely took off. Over about 8 weeks, she got more than 3,200 organic signups to her list, a 60% conversion rate on her opt-in page, and her list grew to around 12,200 people. One reel triggered her ManyChat automation more than 1,000 times in 1 week. Those are excellent numbers, and yet Beth's email to me was, in a nutshell, basically, this is going well and I have no idea what to do next. I'm going to read you her email in full because I think you're going to hear yourself in it a little bit. So here's Beth's email. Hi Salome, I just wanted to drop you a quick note. You did say you like to hear from people. Firstly, I think the podcast is excellent. Thanks, Beth. It's been genuinely helpful and is changing how I'm thinking about my business. I wanted to share something with you. I know you love a good statistic. You know me, girl. I've created a new lead magnet that's doing pretty well. It's had over 3,200 organic signups in about the last 8 weeks and has a conversion rate of 60%, bringing my email list to about 12,200 people. I'm using Instagram Reels and a ManyChat automation to generate these leads. Some of the Reels are going viral, and one I did last week resulted in the automation triggering over 1,000 times. My lead magnet is a short hair guide, a practical guide for explaining short hair in the salon chair. I created it using Amy's advice, this is Amy Porterfield, of taking the questions that people kept asking me and making it into something useful for them. The response has completely blown me away. I'm also kind of stuck. I don't know what to do with everything next, and I don't have an offer around it. I'd love to generate some income, but I hate selling myself or asking people for money. Plus, I need huge flexibility in my life at the moment. I think the short hair guide is sufficient for most people's needs, and I'm not sure if there's much else I can add to it. I'm working on building an Etsy shop and thought I could share my downloads with my email list and send traffic to create revenue over there. If you want to use any of that I've shared in podcast content, you're very welcome to. Much love, Beth. Thank you, Beth. That is a delightful email. I loved reading it. This is the part that I want you to hear, because a lot of people assume list problems only happens when your numbers are bad. Nope. You can have a growing list, an engaged list, a very healthy list, and still not know how to turn that attention into revenue. Why? Because list growth and list purpose are not the same thing. Beth has built attention. She has not yet built the monetization, the next step. That is a different job. And this is where so many people get stuck. They think, my lead magnet worked, so why isn't the business part magically working too? Because getting someone onto your list and knowing what to offer them next are two different skills. A great freebie is not automatically a business model. The lesson is, a list can be alive and it can still be unmonetized, and that can be okay if that's what you want. A list can be healthy and make a huge impact in people's lives, but serve no commercial purpose, and that's okay if that's what you want. A list can grow beautifully and still have no clear path to revenue, and that is what Beth's situation show us. Now, Beth also said something that I hear all the time. Maybe you've said this. I hate selling myself. I hate asking people for money. I get that. A lot of smart, generous women feel that way. But selling is not standing on the internet with a tin cup going, please, ma'am, could I have some revenue? Selling is offering the next useful step. That's it. If someone joined your list because you helped them solve a problem, then selling is simply saying, hey, if you want help with the next part, here's where the help is. And that's not gross, that's not pushy, and it's not greedy. That is just called continuing the conversation. So what should Beth do? She has some options. She could recommend products that she genuinely uses and trusts and earn affiliate income without ever creating a single thing. And that also gives her her flexibility. She could create a simple paid digital resource, or she could build a low-cost subscription, a bit more of Beth, a little bit more of that feel-good energy her audience clearly comes back for. Let them pay a small amount to gain a little bit more access to you. But honestly, the answer isn't for me to sit here and pick one for Beth. The answer is to ask her audience what they want next, because the best offer usually sits in this sweet overlap between number one, what your audience wants, number two, what they'll actually pay for, and number three, what you want to keep delivering without resenting anyone. That's the sweet spot. And until you find it, your list can keep growing and still be very useful if you want it to feel like a warm hug. And that's okay. Now, Beth is one version of this problem. But there's also another version, and this one, unfortunately, is brutal. This is when you already have the list. You already have the offer. You've sold it successfully before, and it used to work, and now it doesn't. Unfortunately, I see this all the time, particularly with my mentoring students. They built good offers, real offers, solid courses. Things that sold really, really well between 2020 and 2022. And now they're still emailing. They're still launching. They're still showing up. But conversions have quietly dried up. And they think the problem is the list. And sometimes it isn't the list. Sometimes the market moved and nobody sent you the memo. Here are the three biggest shifts in the market I see right now that's impacting anyone who really did well in the pandemic. Number one, pandemic bump is over. And I know you might be sitting there thinking, Salome, that's super duh, but hear me out. A lot of online businesses grew in these unusual conditions. People were home, people had time, people were looking for help, distraction, hope, skills, reinvention, all of it. Online learning boomed. And I include myself in this entirely. We are the pandemic heroes, or the pandemic profitable heroes, the ones who made a lot of money in the pandemic. We built things, we grew things, we figured out how to sell online, we scaled really fast when the whole world suddenly had nothing to do but sit at home and buy courses. That was real, and it was a moment in time. But that market is gone. So if you're comparing your 2026 results with your 2022 results and wondering what the heck happened, the answer may simply be you're not selling into the same world anymore. And that's not failure, that's just context. The context have changed. Number two, buyers have changed. Right now, people are buying one of two things much more easily. They're buying either a small, specific, quick fix to a problem ChatGPT can't help them with, or they're buying personal access to you. Fast and cheap, or personal and premium. The big middle offer, the giant, comprehensive, everything you need to know course, that is a harder sell than it used to be. It's not impossible, it's just harder. Because people either want a quick win, or they want real support. And the mushy middle is where a lot of offers are getting completely ignored. Number three, AI has changed the value of information. This is the uncomfortable bit. For years, courses sold information. You knew something, they didn't. They paid for access to your brain and your systems. Now basic information is cheap. It's fast and it's everywhere. People can get a surface level answer to almost anything in seconds. So if what you're selling is mostly information transfer, your problem may not be your list at all. It may be that your offer was built for a world where information was harder to access, and that world has changed. What people still pay for is judgment, curation, accountability, speed of implementation, personalization, community, and your specific way of solving their specific problem. So no, your expertise isn't worthless, not even close. But if your messaging still sounds like buy my information, your list may be responding with no thanks, I have Wi-Fi. So let's bring this together. You might have a list like Beth's, growing, engaged, healthy, but not yet linked to a clear offer. You might have a list like some of my pandemic hero mentoring clients, used to convert, now quieter because the market shifted and the offer needs a bit of a rethink. Or you might have a list like mine was, accidentally chopped in half because you followed old advice too literally. Different problem, same root issue. Nobody stopped to ask, what is this list for right now? Not a fluffy community building, this is my network, my audience, not that, in a really practical way. Is this list here to warm people up for my launch? Is this list here to nurture and sell my evergreen offer? Is it here to build trust until someone is ready for my premium offer? Is it here to keep you top of mind? Is it here to move people into conversations somewhere else, applications, consults, or sales calls? What is the job? Because if your list has no job, then of course it looks weird. Of course you're confused. Of course you stop emailing them. That's not managing your list. Once you know the job, everything gets easier. And then you can decide, okay, what kind of emails do I need to send right now? How often do I need to send right now? What do I measure right now? Who do I segment right now? What counts as success right now? What am I actually leading towards right now? Without that, you're just sending them emails, hoping one of them accidentally trips over some revenue. Hope is not a funnel. So here's your job after this episode. Before you clean your list, before you grow your list, before you run a re-engagement campaign, before you obsess over subject lines and open rates and frequency, write one sentence. What is my list for right now? One sentence, not 3 paragraphs. Not a voice note to yourself full of emotional weather. Just one sentence. Because if you cannot explain the job of your list in one sentence, that's where the real work starts. And honestly, that's probably the good news, because it means your list may not be dead after all. It might just be waiting for better instructions. Your one thing before you close this tab. One sentence. What is my list for right now? If you can't write it in one sentence or you don't have an answer yet, that's okay. That's exactly where you start. Now, if you've been watching this and thinking, okay, I get the list thing, but when I actually want to run ads to my launch, where do I even begin? I have a video for that. It walks you through the exact 5 stages of launch ads we use inside our agency. Most people run their ads in the wrong order. It's not their targeting. It's not their budget. It's the sequence. That video is the big picture map you've been missing. And it's linked right here. Go watch that next, and I'll see you over there. Bye.